In today's episode, we are going down the bayou. From a new ride to shops and dining, we are exploring everything that is available in the Bayou Country in Disneyland Resort.
You're listening to Castle Talk Radio. We're live on the airwaves with Becca and Jessica. Now let's jump into this week's episode.
Welcome to the Bayou. Disneyland Resort recently welcomed Tiana and some of her critter friends with a new ride, 2 new shops, and more. Today, we are talking about everything that you will find in the new Bayou Country at Disneyland Resort. Jessica, we have a kind of a new land or a renamed land. So where is this Bayou Country? What is this? Why does it seem like I've been there before?
Okay, so back in the deep parts of Disneyland, that used to be Critter Country, where we found Splash Mountain and the Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, we can now find Bayou Country. So this area has been rethemed and renamed because we now have Tiana's Bayou Adventure, and then we still have that Winnie the Pooh attraction. So we needed to fit in Tiana's Bayou Adventure, and during this retheme, some people thought, should this be part of New Orleans Square? But we still wanted to fit in some of that country vibe to it. So I love how Imagineers took this in and just rethemed it to Bayou Country. And I think it really fits Disneyland. I think it works here. And the ride did open first in Walt Disney World, but I have to say, I think we got the better end of the deal here. So this area is toward the back end of the park. It's also that closer area to get into Galaxy's Edge if you're going towards Rise of the Resistance, just to give you some more orientation.
Yeah, it is what was formerly known as Critter Country, and Jessica can attest, I keep wanting to call it Critter Bayou instead of Bayou Country.
We'll accept all of those things.
Yeah, it's fine. So you mentioned that Tiana's Bayou Adventure is there, and it recently opened. You went for a Magic Key preview. I went opening weekend. So I want to talk about that. And you also brought up that you think we have the better version than Walt Disney World. So I rode Walt Disney World just a few days before I went over and rode the Disneyland version. So we'll get to that on whether or not which one's better. So first, let's talk about how to ride the ride, because you can't just show up and wait in line, can you?
Right. And this is really time specific for right now, which this will be released in December 2024. So make sure that you're looking up on our websites, the Happiest Blog on Earth and this crazy adventure called Life, because we do keep those updated. But right now, as of recording, the way you can ride Tiana's Bayou Adventure is one of two ways. You have the virtual queue system or through Lightning Lane Multipass. So Lightning Lane Multipass is that Lightning Lane option that is bundled with all the other attractions that you purchase for about $30 a day per person. That comes with all those other rides. So that is a great option to be able to ride it. And virtual queue is a complimentary option through the Disneyland app, but there's no standby line as of this time.
Yeah. And you can join the virtual queue. And this is where Disney loves to get confusing with things. So you can join the virtual queue 3 times per day, but you can only get 1 virtual queue per day. And so there's a 7 a.m. queue, and this is before you enter the park. You're able to get this queue if you have a Disneyland park reservation for that day. So you have to be starting at Disneyland, because unlike Walt Disney World, 1, we still have reservations for everyone, and 2, we are not allowed to park hop until 11 a.m. So those that are starting Disneyland can grab a queue at 7 a.m. The second time is at noon, and that's for anyone with a reservation, because you can park hop after that point. And then they have a third drop of the virtual queue at 4 p.m. And this was added later on. One thing I will say is I went opening weekend and it was really hard to get a virtual queue. So you're definitely going to want to practice.
Exactly. It's very tricky and confusing, and things could change at any time because Disney, for example, released that they would be adding a third virtual queue time slot for Tiana's just a few days before it opened. So you could have this strategy mapped out in your head, and maybe a few days before you go, things could change where they could say, actually, we're going to open the standby line and we're going to not have virtual queue in a couple of days. And maybe by then you've turned off your strategy thinking and you've already got everything in place. So it's really important to check out those blog posts one last time. I know I have one that just focuses on Tiana's Bayou Adventure and has the strategies in place that are current so that you can see what's going on just with that one attraction, if that's important to you. So there's a lot of things that go into it when attractions are brand new. And Becca and I have been to Disneyland for so many openings of different attractions and seen this process play out. And what's really cool is not only have we seen it play out, we've also seen Disney adapt and make changes when things aren't working. So, for example, the opening day of Tiana's, things didn't work quite as well. And I expect there to be some changes in the next couple days or couple weeks. And we'll see how that goes. And hopefully it benefits all of us.
Yeah, and it wasn't even just opening day. So here's the story. Opening day, it didn't open until 5 minutes before the noon drop. So one of the things about these virtual queues is they can change how many they open up. So of course they have this backlog from the 7 a.m. drop. So they were able to make it so very few spots were open at noon. And the same thing happened on the Monday after it opened. That's the day I ended up riding it. And I got group for it, but guess what? I didn't get to ride until like 11:20 a.m. because of the fact that it didn't open until then. So definitely know that it's whenever there's a new ride, this happens a lot. So the next thing I want to talk about on it though, Jessica, is will you get wet? Because we've seen a lot of things on social media about people saying that they're getting soaked, absolutely drenched on this ride. And I want to know your opinion. Now, I have to preface this with the fact that you had your own boat, right? When you
Yeah.
went. So your experience may be way different than someone else's, but I went with a full boat. So we'll talk about it. How wet did you get?
Not very wet at all. But this is a water ride. So you should come prepared to get wet either way. That's just the nature of it. And it is winter right now. So you need to be prepared. And I want to tell you some hints that I have about coming prepared for that. But tell me, how wet did you guys get in yours with a full crew?
Well, my friend and I ended up, she was the front, very front, and I was right behind her.
Okay.
She was drenched, like
Really?
totally soaked. I was pretty soaked on my legs, like on the sides and stuff, but not really drenched. I will say I have gotten just as wet when it was Splash Mountain as I did
Mhm.
here. And people are saying I'm getting more wet. Well, I think part of that is we're seeing a lot of full boats of adults right now from people wanting to. It's a lot of influencers and creators and people that maybe wouldn't normally be doing this ride in November, and they're doing it and getting soaked, right? So because it's a full boat, the weight of your boat is going to play a part in how wet you get. And the second thing to know is people expect that that last drop is where you're going to get the most wet. And in my experience, even when it was Splash Mountain and now as Tiana's Bay Adventure, it's actually the drop where you go into the dark and there's like a drop and you go up and then you go down again. It's a rolling drop is what they call that. And that is the one that we got super wet on. My friend got totally soaked. She was covering her face, but water went up underneath and into her nose. Like that's how soaked she got. So
Yeah.
definitely know that. But I know Jessica, you've had for a long time the shower cap trick that you bring a shower cap
Right.
up your hair. But this time you found something at Target that you used. I love it. Tell everyone.
Yeah, it was actually a full body rain suit because I was just coming down for the day and I didn't have time to play around with bringing an extra outfit. And this is like a compact travel type of rain suit, like pants that you put over. So they're like larger than your regular clothes, pants, jacket thing. It was about $25 and it totally kept me dry. And like I said, I didn't get that wet, but like had I not had that on, I wouldn't have been super comfortable. But the shower cap, not only for your hair, that comes in handy for Tiana and also Grizzly, but just before the opening of Tiana's, I had a text from someone who was taking a youth group of about 50 kids and said, how am I going to keep these kids' shoes dry? And we're doing the youth performance program. We also can't tell all these kids to bring flip-flops. So those shower caps come in handy again. You put those over your tennis shoes. And you can get a pack of like 100 of those for around $10. And they're so compact, lightweight, easy to travel with, and disposable if needed. Or you can let them dry and reuse them again. So those come in so handy.
Definitely. Okay, so let's really quickly, what are your thoughts on the retheme of from Splash Mountain to this?
I love it. So
Same.
I've just gone on it once and it was just so fast and trying to take it in and get enough coverage because I'm riding it differently than someone who's just going on it to enjoy it for the first time, right? So I'm trying to enjoy it. I'm trying to get photos, trying to get video. But I just felt it really just did Tiana justice. She was the star of the ride, and I loved that. I thought it was beautifully done. I thought it was on par with the new and modern way that Disney does attractions. So while I wouldn't say it's exactly like Mickey and Minnie's, it fits that time frame where maybe 20 years from now we'll say, oh yeah, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway came out around the same time as Tiana's Bayou Adventure. Just like how we can say, oh, these dark rides in Fantasyland were all came out around the same time. We love those for what they are and what they bring. So these are the same type of things, and it's fantastic and it's beautiful.
Yes.
What do
Okay,
you think?
so I loved it. It's a lot more fun. You don't have the rabbit singing, "Don't go there, you're gonna be killed." Um, it's a blast. We don't wanna give away too much, obviously, because, we don't wanna spoil it for those that haven't ridden it yet, but it was great, and so we talked about Walt Disney World. So, this is what I will say. The ride flows a lot better at Disneyland. The story there's bigger gaps between the spots in Disney World. However, Disneyland has crappier ride vehicles. I'm just gonna say that. You have to get down into the boat. It's a lot harder. It's a single file, which Walt Disney World, you sit 2 by 2, and it's higher up. It's not like you're squished down in there. And you do get a lot more wet in Disneyland. So rode the Walt Disney World version. It's funny, both my friend and I, when we went on that rolling drop in the Walt Disney World one, we went like this, expecting to get soaked. And if you're not watching this on video, basically we ducked into each other and tried to like cover ourselves. And there was hardly anything, right? And so we were like, oh my gosh, we were so ready for that. But as I said, we got soaked on the Disneyland version. So there is that difference between the two. I do feel that the story just moves better at Disneyland, though. So that's my thoughts on that. So along with the ride, though, we have new shops. And I have to tell you, there was one that I was very skeptical about them making such a big deal about, and that was the hat shop, Ray's Berets. I'm like, oh, just change the name. Don't make it seem like it's a big deal because you're still selling the exact same thing, mini ears and hats and things like that. But I've got to tell you guys, if you have seen video on like Instagram or somewhere, it does not do the shop justice. It is beautiful. It is so well done. Did you get to go in there while you were there?
I did. It is very pretty. And there's a lot of people in that little shop because it is so beautiful.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. And like I said, the videos online do not do it justice. You have to see it in person. And then the other shop we have is Lewis's Critter Club, and that is attached to Pooh Corner. So it's the shop part of that. And this is where you can find all this Tiana and Tiana's Bayou Adventure, and it's got all the souvenir stuff there from the ride. And it's really, I mean, it feels the same inside as far as they haven't added a lot of decor or anything that was different from whatever the name was before, but it's got a lot of great merch in it. Was that open when you went?
No, I think it opened like the next day.
Yeah. So it's got a lot of great things. They had the little fireflies that are shoulder pals.
Oh, perfect.
They're on a lamp or a jar, a mason jar type thing, and if you put them on the mason jar, it can while it charges, so it charges, and then that each charge holds it for 4 hours. The mason jar holds enough charge that you can charge it, I think she said 6 times,
Hey,
for sure, but then it becomes a nightlight, and it's just gorgeous, and I really kinda wanted it, but I held back from buying it. Um, but it's amazing, and it ties in, and then you just again, it's connected to Pooh's Corner where you can still get all those fabulous treats. Okay, whew, we are gotta rush through this, but we also have a new restaurant, kind of. It's rethemed. It's the Hungry Bear Barbecue Jamboree, which used to just be the Hungry Bear, diner, and now it's Hungry Bear Barbecue Jamboree, and you ate there, right?
I did. Yeah. So when they say barbecue, they really mean barbecue. Like this is barbecue heaven. I'm not like huge barbecue fan. I like it, but I really have to be in the mood for it. And I did want to try it out, but to me, barbecue feels really heavy and I
Yes.
wasn't super, super hungry. So I went for the loaded fries and those were so good. So good. And just it had the barbecue, like I think it was the brisket on top and then all the other yummy stuff. And they were really good. And that's considered like a side, but it was totally enough for a meal. And people are saying really great things about the banana dessert that they have. And then they also have the corn rib type of thing. So it's corn on the cob, but it's not on the cob. It's like sliced off so that it looks like a rib, but
Yeah.
it's corn.
Yes.
So it's not meat.
Yeah, and, it does kinda take me back to the Thunder Ranch barbecue. The
Okay.
menu very much made me feel like we kind of are getting that back, which is great. Um, it does offer mobile ordering, and then there's also a standby line you can wait in to order. I definitely suggest mobile ordering, and you're gonna wanna do that ahead of time because it does fill up quickly right now as it's new. That may change in the future, but definitely be thinking several hours ahead with that mobile ordering for when you wanna eat. But one thing I wanna talk about is how this pays homage to that new Country Bear Jamboree at Walt Disney World. So, I don't know if you caught up to this, but there are posters of the new bears, like, some of them got new names, some of them didn't, over in the Walt Disney World one. They recently reimagined the Country Bear Jamboree. They now sing all Disney songs. It's great. I did that at Walt Disney World right before this, right before I went to Disneyland. But they even play some of the music from the new
Oh,
Country
that's
Bear
perfect.
Jamboree in that area. So it's really cool that they are tying those 2 together, even though they're on opposite sides of the country. So I love
I
that.
love that.
Okay. So you mentioned the Adventures of Winnie the Pooh at the beginning. Did that go away? Or is it still there?
It's still there and it's really popular right now as well because you can use that while you're doing a little rider switch if you have family that can't go on Tiana's. And just because everyone really wants to get back there and check out the new space, just the queue and the buildings on the outside, the facade of Tiana's is so beautiful as well. And also back there, you can still meet and greet with Winnie the Pooh and friends, which is perfect. We love having him back there and all the friends for the little ones and young at heart to meet.
Yes. There is one more ride in that area, or attraction, I should say, and it never has a wait. In fact, I walked right on it this last weekend when the parks were super crowded. Any guesses what it is?
The canoes.
Yes, the Davy Crockett canoes.
You went on the canoes.
I did.
Prove
Yes.
it.
I video, I will have to post it on here. Yes, Tony and I went on the canoe, and we did.
Amazing.
It's always an arm workout. I always feel like I need to
It's
ride it a
great.
second time and sit on the opposite side to get the other arm worked out in the
That's
same.
so perfect for that cool like weather as well.
Yeah, it wasn't too hot, so it was great. Okay, so one thing I want to talk about, one thing that needs to change in the Bayou Country. I almost said Critter Bayou. And as I was going on the ride, they have this sign where the what will be Lightning Lane and Standby merge. And it says, better store your gear. You will get wet. But Disney doesn't offer lockers here. Why did they not add lockers? That is my biggest complaint about this whole thing. They have free lockers
Wow.
over at Grizzly River Run that's free for 2 hours so you can store your stuff. Why didn't they put it at Tiana's Bayou Adventure? They had the space. They moved where the ride photos are to outside where you used to be able to purchase the ones in the folder and stuff. They put it there. But
Mhm.
that would have been a great spot for them if they kept the ride photos where they were, or they have room there. There is definitely room to put some lockers somewhere in that
Sure.
lane. And they haven't done it, and I really think that that's something that needs to be done with how wet you get on this ride compared to the Walt Disney World one.
Yeah, that's really surprising.
Yeah,
I think they
so
should do that.
I do too, and Disney, like we always say, take our ideas, we don't care. So, that's it, but I think that the Bayou Country and Tiana's is a big hit. What's your final thoughts, Jessica?
Yeah, I'm so happy that it's there. It just adds to everything that we love about Disneyland. And it's going to be such a hit when the weather warms up as well. And it's going to be a well-oiled machine, and everybody will get to experience it when we kick off the 70th anniversary of Disneyland coming in 2025.
Thank you for going down the bayou with us, and we'll see you next week.